It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. Good afternoon, everybody. We're here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before we head into the braking zone of turn 14. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Fernando Alonso yesterday puts him on pole position, just edging out Alex Albon, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Stroll, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Sainz, Bottas, Zhou, Russell, Verstappen, Sargent, Leclerc, Gasly, Perez, Ocon, and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Okay, George is coming in for his stop. P10. You're currently in P10. Bottas ahead. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh softs. Okay, Sainz is behind you. Okay, the gap is less than a second. They're on fresh softs. Okay, so gap to the leader is 5.4 seconds. You've got 10 laps until your pit window opens. Pit window opens in 10 laps. Now use DRS now available. Minutes until rainfall expected. 5 minutes until rain. Ricardo ahead. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are 2 laps old. Time last lap was a 1:39.4. Okay, so you're gaining by around 0.6 a lap. Okay, you're in the top 10. It looks like rain is inbound and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes until the rain. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. Gap to the car ahead is 1.5 seconds. P7, 7th place. Okay, Magnussen ahead. Okay, the gap is less than a second. They're on fresh softs. That's Hulkenberg behind. Okay, push, push. Gap to the car behind. 1.2 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Our gap to first place is 5.8 seconds. The pit window will be open in 7 laps time. Ahead. Okay, here's the gap that we're trailing the car ahead by. 1.4 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Their tyres are 5 laps old. Okay, we think they've got at least 3 more stops. Your last lap time was a 1 minute 39.1. 1.2 seconds advantage per lap. Keep going. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now. Tyre condition still looking good. Seeing at least 20 minutes of light rain. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. Okay, I think we're still on the right tyres for the time being. Okay, you've got P5, P5. Okay, Piastri just ahead. Push hard, push hard. Less than a second separates you. Okay, they're on old softs. That's Stroll behind you. Okay, they're on old softs. Okay, gap to leader, 5.5 seconds. You've got 4 laps until your pit window opens. And that's 49 laps to go. Okay, be mindful of the conditions, the track's getting wetter. Recommend you stay out for now though, we'll be much slower if we move on to inters this early. I know these conditions are tough, but bear with it. I don't think the track's ready for intermediates yet. The tyre situation's an interesting one, but I think the right call is to stick with what we've got for now. Okay, track conditions aren't improving. It's your choice as to whether you want to fit full wets next time you come in. You're increasing the gap on the car behind by 0.5 a lap. Okay, so the last lap time was a 1:41.8. It's still not a perfect situation, but I don't think we've got cause to move on to a different tyre yet. job. Okay, you've got P3, well done. Lando ahead. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 5.7 seconds. They're on old mediums. That's Albon behind you. Okay, they're on old softs. The distance to the leader is 5.8 seconds. Okay, your pit window opens next lap. And that's 46 laps to go. Okay, even though we're seeing cars start to struggle in these conditions, if we pit for inters now, we're going to be too slow and we'll burn them out. Make the best of it for the time being. Okay, we want you to pit this lap, so push now, push. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 28.6 seconds. Okay, so the gap to the car ahead, 6.3 seconds. We don't have the data for that, I'm afraid. Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap. Okay, go, go, go! Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Okay, one stop to go, just one stop left in this strategy. And you've got P15. Leclerc is ahead of you, and gap to the car in front is 1.0 seconds. They're on old mediums. Ocon's behind you. Okay, car behind trailing us, 1.4 seconds. Okay, they're on old softs. Your pit window doesn't open for more than 20 laps. Okay, 44 laps to go. George is in the pits. He's in the pits now. We're not certain which is the best tyre right now, dries or inters. Let's use overtake and burn off some of this energy. DRS has been disabled by the stewards. DRS will be offline. Wait for further updates. Albon is stopping now. You're in second place. Norris just ahead. Push for the position. Okay, gap ahead is 5.2 seconds. They're on a fresh set of inters. That's Alonso behind. Okay, gap to the car behind. 1.8 seconds. They're on a fresh set of inters. Pit window opens in 19 laps time. 19 laps. And that's 42 laps to go. Okay, you're doing well out there, keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain, 10 minutes. 10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up, 10 minutes. Okay, not sure whether dries or inters are faster, we're right on the crossover. Around a second faster than the car ahead. Keep this up. behind you now. We're leading the car behind by 2.2 seconds. They're on a fresh set of inters. Their tyres are 2 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. And the time last lap was a 1 minute 46.1. Gap to your teammate behind is 38.1 seconds. They're on a fresh set of inters. They're currently 17th place. Time last lap was a 1:47.7. Lando's ahead of you now. Our gap to the car in front is 3.9 seconds. They're on a fresh set of inters. Okay, they've got 4 laps on their tyres. We think they've got one more stop. Your last lap time was a 1 minute 46.9. This is great stuff. We're gaining by 0.3 a lap. Good work. Rain clearing up is about 10 minutes, so just keep your concentration out there. You're doing well. Inters seem to be the fastest tyre for now. Ahead. Okay, gaps in the car ahead is 0 seconds. They're on old intermediates. Their tyres are 6 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. And the time last lap was a 1:47.7. Okay, so you're gaining by 1/10 a lap. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 45.2 seconds. Anticipate an end to this rain in around 5 minutes. Inters look like the best tyre for now. Looks like we're running on a dry track soon. Back to dry shortly. That's Alonso behind, and the gap behind us is 2.6 seconds. They're on old intermediates. Their tyres are 6 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. Time last lap was a 1:47.7. Norris just ahead, push for the position. Okay, here's the gap that we're trailing the car ahead by, 1.9 seconds. They're on old intermediates. Their tyres are 8 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. Your last lap time was a 1:48.3. This is excellent stuff. You're closing in by 7/10 a lap. I don't think the line is really dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a little while longer. gap behind is 2.8 seconds. Seems to be the fastest tyre for now. You're losing a small amount of time to the car behind. Let's keep pushing. Our gap behind is 2.6 seconds. Okay, looks like some of those puddles are clearing. We're still definitely on the right tyre for the time being, but we're probably not a million miles away from slick conditions. Pack, that's P1, Norris behind. Okay, the gap is less than a second. They're on old intermediates. Okay, your pit window opens in 9 laps time. Okay, 32 laps to go. Okay, mate, don't worry about the damage. I've got some new strategy options if you go and check your MFD. Got that confirmed. issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them. Understood. Stopping this lap. Okay, mate, that's it. Go, go, go. Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that. Okay, radar is clear, weather is looking good for now. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now. Okay, so the gap to the car behind is 3.1 seconds. Fastest lap at this point in time is a 1 minute 37.5. We don't currently have the data for that request. DRS is behind you. Okay, push, push, gap to the car behind, 3.1 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Their tyres are 3 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. And the time last lap was a 1:38.6. Job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. And Verstappen's behind. Okay, car behind trailing us, 3.7 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Okay, they've got 4 laps on their tyres. We think they've got one more stop. Time last lap was a 1:36.4. Verstappen behind you now. Okay, gap to the car behind, 2.6 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Their tyres are 5 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. Your last lap time was a 1:36.0. Verstappen's behind. We're leading the car behind by 2.1 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Their tyres are 6 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. And the time last lap was a 1 minute 36.4. First position, front of the pack. Verstappen behind you now, and the gap behind us is 1.4 seconds. Okay, they're on old softs. Your pit window will be open in 7 laps time. 24 laps to go. pack, that's P1, and Verstappen's behind. Less than a second separates you. Okay, they're on old softs. Your pit window opens in 5 laps time, 5 laps. Okay, 22 laps left. time was a 1:38.8. Okay, we lost the position, try to keep focus. Position, front of the pack. Verstappen behind you now. Okay, the gap is less than a second. Okay, they're on old softs. Your pit window is going to open in 3 laps time. Pit window opens in 3 laps. You've got 20 laps left until the end. Approaching the pit window and you're going to be on mediums. Okay, they're on old softs. Time last lap was a 1:38.5. fresh now, we're boxing this lap. No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving. George is in the pits, he's in the pits now. Okay, off we go, back into the race. That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting. Look after these tyres now, we want to finish the race on this compound. Okay, you're sat in P2. Lando's ahead of you now. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 19.6 seconds. Okay, they're on old softs. And Verstappen's behind. Okay, the gap behind is 1.4 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go. All right, 16 laps to go. Verstappen behind you now. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are just one lap old. Your last lap time was a 1:54.3. Okay, we've lost a position, that's us down a place. Currently, the fastest lap is at 1 minute 36.0. Sorry, we can't provide you with that information right now. Fresh mediums, and the time last lap was a 1:36.5. Brilliant, nice move, keep going. Okay, clear.
No! Okay, I have everything off.
and Verstappen's behind. Okay, the gap is less than a second. They're on fresh mediums. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go. Okay, we're into the last 10 laps now. Fastest lap at this point in time is a 1 minute 34.7. We don't have the data for that, I'm afraid. Okay, so the time last lap was a 1:37.1. Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place. Tyre condition still looking good. That place back. And that's just 5 laps of fuel remaining. Verstappen behind you now. Less than a second separates you. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 11 laps old now. Time last lap was a 1 minute 37.8. Ahead. Okay, the gap is less than a second. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 11 laps old now. Your last lap time was a 1:36.3. We're 2.5 seconds slower right now. Come on. Okay, we've got 4 laps of fuel remaining. No need to worry about the tyre condition for now, everything's looking good. Front of the pack, Norris behind. Less than a second separates you. They're on old mediums. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. 2 laps left. Next time by will be your final lap. We've only got 2 laps of fuel left. Let's go, final lap. Fantastic drive, that's just fantastic, amazing, you deserve that race win. Well done, mate.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.